Okay, so number one, now you may notice that all of these say number one, NC, number two, NC. That means that these first 10 were actually supposed to be no calculator.
We're not using it.
I did not tell you that because I wanted you to have the opportunity to try your best and not freak out that you didn't have your calculator. But as we work through these, I'm going to show you how to get the answers without your calculator. Okay? So, number one, which option below shows the graph of y equals 4 minus x times x plus 2? These kind of look like the factors of a quadratic, right? Whenever we were saying what multiplies to this and adds to that in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's why all of these graphs look like a parabola. Now, the nice thing about this is the factors of the quadratic match up to where it crosses the x-axis in a pretty specific way. All we've got to do is say, hey, let me take this 4 minus x and set it equal to 0. And then the other factor, x plus 2, I'm going to take that and set that equal to 0. And those are both pretty easy equations to solve. They take one step each. The first one, 4 minus x equals 0. If I add x to both sides, boom, the equation's solved. I get 4 equals x. Okay, the other one, subtract 2 from both sides. Hey, that equation solved too. I get x equals negative 2. So why don't I do that if I was wanting to figure out what the graph is? It's because these two answers, 4 and negative 2, are where this parabola should cross the x-axis. So, A crosses at negative 2 and at positive 4. That's the answer. B crosses at negative 2 but not at positive 4. C crosses at 4 but not negative 2. D crosses at neither. Those factors tell you where it's supposed to cross. Because A is the only one that crosses at both of those, A is the correct answer. Sound okay? Okay. Number 2. Which expression is equivalent to x plus 2 times 3x minus 3? What do you think we should do here?
Oh, I know. We should multiply.
Multiply.
Something I didn't do and got it.
And by multiply, we're going to double distribute.
Oh.
That's where we take x and distribute it to the 3x minus 3. And then we take the 2 and distribute it to the 3x minus 3.
So you get a third number, right?
Yeah.
Not 2.
So x times 3x is 3x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Then distribute the 2. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And really, if you're looking at these options, they all start with a 3x squared and they all end with a minus 6. So it really boils down to what's that middle number. Well, negative 3x and positive 6x combine to positive 3x. The answer is B.
Oh, man.
Sometimes it's really important to look at the answer choices before you do any math, because honestly, I could have just focused on, hey, what's that middle term going to be? Is it going to cancel out? Or going to be 3, 6, or 9?
Can you give us like a I don't understand now.
Don't understand this part?
Or no, in the middle. Like, just
What I-
the middle.
What I did, okay, that's a great question. 3x squared didn't have any other x squareds to combine with. Okay? Right here, all I did was combine like terms. Negative 3x and positive 6x, because they both had an x, and both those x's didn't have an exponent, really they have an exponent of 1, They're like terms, and so you just add those coefficients. Negative 3 plus 6 is positive 3x. Leave the 3x squared alone up front, and leave the minus 6 alone on the back. Sound okay? Any questions before I move on? Okay. Number 3 said, in which graph does the shaded region represent the solution set? Let me try that again. The solution set for the inequality. I don't know what happened with me talking right there. The solution set for the inequality 2x minus y is less than 4. Okay, so a solution set is where the x and the y, when you plug them in, both work. Now, one thing you could do is just test all 4 of these out. Pick a point in a shaded region, plug in the x and y, and hopefully one of these will come out to something less than 4. Like I could plug this number in, or this number, or this point, or these numbers, right? Just picking a random point. This is just me being really random, okay? But perhaps a quicker way is if we take this inequality and write it in slope-intercept form. So let me write it a little bit bigger since I'm going to be writing over top. What I'm talking about is, let's get y by itself here. To do that, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. It's going to give me negative y is less than negative 2x plus 4. But then I also don't want y to be negative, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1 in order to switch that sign. And all that's going to do is make this positive 2x minus 4. But also, don't forget, if you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, the inequality symbol itself flips around. So why did I do that? Because now looking at this, I know a couple of things. That greater than symbol says it should be shaded above. I also know, because of that minus 4 on the end there, that the y-intercept is negative 4. And I also know that the 2 in front of the x says there's a slope of 2. Knowing those 3 things now, I can eliminate 3 of the 4 options. So, shaded above. Well, that means it's either A or C, because B and D are shaded below. That y-intercept of negative 4. Well, option C has a y-intercept of positive 4, so it's not going to be C. The answer is A. We can also see from A that the slope is 2. It goes up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. So it's just a process of elimination thing. What I was talking about with those points, if you plug in any x and y in this shaded region and say 2 times the x minus the y value, you're going to get a number less than 4 guaranteed every time. All these others, you will not. Sound okay? Okay. Number 4, a line of the form y equals mx plus b is written to pass through the point 1, 6 and is parallel to the line y equals 4x plus 6. What is the value of b? This one sounds really complicated, but it's not. Okay? We've got a line that's got the form y equals mx plus b. But of those 4 letters, we've got 3 of them and we don't even realize it. First off, if it's going to be parallel to the line y equals 4x plus 6, it's got to have the same slope. And then if it also goes through the point 1, 6, well, 1 is an x value and 6 is a y value. Plug 1 in for x and plug 6 in for y. So again, parallel has the same slope. And so let me rewrite this. Instead of y equals, I'm going to say 6 equals. Instead of m, I'm going to say 4. Instead of x, I'm going to plug in that 1 plus b. And now it wants us to solve for b, and this is a really easy equation to solve. It's just setting it up that was the hard part. 4 times 1 is 4. Subtract 4 from both sides. The value of b is 2. How are we feeling so far, y'all? Okay, you just said you feel stupid right now. Is it because you realize this is a lot easier than you were thinking it was going to be?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great, because now, whenever you see this question on the EOC, you know how to do it. It's okay if you didn't know it before, but now you feel like, oh yeah, that's super simple. That's good. That's what I want you to feel. Not stupid. I don't want you to feel stupid. I want you to feel like, oh, this isn't that bad. Let's look at number 5. Number 5 might be one of my least favorite on this paper because the notation, the wording is just so weird. 2 functions are shown below. What is the largest integer value of x such that f of x is less than or equal to g of x? Okay, so zooming in on some of that verbiage there. What's an integer?
I feel like it's the what fits into a number.
That's a factor. So an integer is a nice pretty whole number, no fractions or decimals. So like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All of those are integers, okay? This part right here, f of x is less than or equal to g of x. F of x is just a placeholder for the output whenever you plug in a number x. And what it wants us to do is know, okay, if I plug in like 2 here, I'm going to get an answer. If I plug in 2 here, I'm going to get an answer. Which answer is larger? It wants to know for a bunch of x's, the f of x function is going to be less than the g of x function up until a certain point. It wants to know what that certain point is. So what I'm going to do to compare them is make a table. So I'm going to pick a bunch of x values to plug in. I'm just plug in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to stop there. Spoiler alert, the answer is 6.
No.
That's why we're only going to 6. And then I'm going to make 2 columns, one for the f of x function and one for the g of x function. Now, we don't have our calculator, so we do have to know how to plug in numbers to 1/2 times 2 to the x power. But these 2 functions kind of give away a lot of information. Let me write these out here. The function f of x is an exponential function, You know that when it's got a little exponent, that's got the variable in it. And how these are always written, 1/2 is your starting value. And 2 is your multiplier. So I really don't even need to worry about saying what's f of 0, f of 1, f of 2, f of 3. I'm going to write down 1/2 and then multiply it by 2 over and over and over again. 1/2 times 2 is 1, times 2 is 2, times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32.
If it's 1/2, I would think it would be 1.5.
Are you
I don't know.
multiplying one? Okay, so like
I'm-
1/2 times 1, or 1/2 times 2 is 1.
Yes.
So then 1 times 2 is 2.
Yep.
And then 2 times 2 is 4. That's
Yep. We're just doubling.
You're not. Yeah.
We're multiplying by 2 every time.
I still don't get it. Where'd you get 3 and 4? Take your initial.
Where'd I get the 3 and the 4?
Yeah, you said you were-
These are just the x's that I'm plugging in. These are the answers I get. If I plug 0 in, f of 0 is 1/2. F of 1 is 1. F of 2 is 2. But I'm not actually saying, what is 1/2 times 2 to the first power? 1/2 times 2 to the second power? Because I saw the pattern just by looking at the function.
Oh.
Now, you could say, okay, 1/2 times 2 to the 0 power, well, 2 to the 0 power is 1, and 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. Okay, 1/2 times 2 to the first power, 2 to the first power is 2, 1/2 times 2 is 1. Plug in 2. 1/2 times 2 to the second power, well, 2 to the second power is 4, half of that is 2. Okay, but it's quicker if you just look at the function and say the starting value is 1/2. This says multiply by 2. G of x is a linear function. And it also gives a bunch of information away about its pattern of y values. 2 is our y-intercept, which is our starting value. That 5 is our slope, which just means add 5. So starting at 2, if I repeatedly add 5, 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 5 is 12, plus 5 is 17, plus 5 is 22, plus 5 is 27, plus 5 is 32.
So the answer is 6.
The reason the answer is 6, this is saying what value of x was the largest value of x where the f output is less than or equal to the g output. All of these are less than up until this last one where they're equal to. If I had gone to 7, I would have 64 here, and I would have 37 here. 64 is now greater than 37. So 6 is the last value of x. Okay, we can talk about it privately a little bit, unless anybody else wants us to talk about it. Okay. Number 6. This one's kind of tricky. A company can model its net income with the function f of x equals 9x squared minus 54x minus 144, where x is the number of units of its products sold, and f is its net income in thousands of dollars. How many units of its product does the company need to sell in order for its net income to equal 0? Okay, so net income equal to 0 means, looking at this function, that minus 144 on the end tells me that this company, if they don't sell anything, because of how much money they've invested, they're going to lose $144,000. Their question is, what do they need to sell in order to break even? Where they've not made any money, but they've not lost any money. They've made this investment back. Okay? And where it says equal 0, that's exactly what we've got to do. We've got to take this and set it equal to 0.
Oh, I tried that.
which looks like a really hard equation to solve on the no calculator part. This is a quadratic equation. The best way to solve a quadratic is to factor it. But they've got a 144 on the back, and they've got a 9 up front. What'd you say? Perfect. Whenever you're on the calculator inactive section, sometimes they're going to give you questions that are kind of scary, but for this, there is a GCF. You may be thinking, well, how am I supposed to know the GCF? Check and see if the very first number is the GCF. If it is, that's going to make your life so much easier. So I'm going to divide everything by 9. And when I say check and see if a number is a GCF, you check by dividing. If everything divides evenly, yay, it was a GCF. Well, 9x squared divided by 9 is x squared. Negative 54 divided by 9 is negative 6x. Negative 144 divided by 9 is negative 16. 0 divided by 9 is still 0. Now, y'all, you don't have your calculator on this part. So, like negative 144 divided by 9, you may need to go off to the side here and do old-fashioned long division.
You know, I never learned how to do that.
I didn't either.
You need to teach
Okay.
me that.
Okay, well, let's talk about it now. Does 9 go into 1?
No.
Does 9 go into 14?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
When I say go into, how many times does 9 go into 14? 1.
Does it really?
14 minus 9 is 5. Carry down the 4.
Wait, you're not so fast.
Yeah, slow down.
Why'd you put the one?
Because that's what it is. It's 9 goes into
Oh, it goes
14
into
once,
1.
so then you put that on top.
I'm talking with 14. No, and you subtract 9.
And then, how many 9s go into 54?
6.
6. 9 times 6 is 54. It went in there evenly. That's how long division works. It's been a hot minute since you've done that, hasn't it?
54, why'd you done yours?
Because
Do-
9 times.
I'm subtracting.
Oh.
So I'm seeing how many 9s goes into 14. Well, only 1 went into 14, so I subtracted 9 and got 5. You carry down the next digit, 4. 9 goes into 54 6 times. Okay, so now that I've got rid of that leading coefficient, this is super easy to factor. I'm going to put it in parentheses. Hey, don't forget, if that last number is negative, your signs are going to be mixed. So, any thoughts on a positive and negative number that multiply to negative 16 and add to negative 6?
And 8.
3 and 8?
No.
2 and 8. Positive 2, negative 8. 2 times negative 8 multiplies to negative 16. 2 plus negative 8 adds to negative 6. We're almost done. When you've got factors of x plus 2 and x minus 8, the solutions you get are the opposites. You get x equals negative 2 and x equals 8. So which answer is correct?
Negative 8. Negative 2.
Why is it 8?
I don't know. Negative 2 because it's equal.
The question is, how many units of its product does the company need to sell? Can you sell negative 2 boxes of stuff?
Oh no.
Yeah, so mathematically it equals 0, but in the context, you can't sell negative 2 boxes. You can sell 8 boxes, though. So the answer is 8.
I'm a genius.
Honestly, I think the person who put this on the previous version of the EOC just put it there to scare people, and they didn't realize how easy it was. The same thing is true for number 7. Joanna has 50 coins in her purse. We've done a question just like this. It was in our Systems of Equations chapter, and it was a little bit tough to solve. The coins are all either nickels or quarters. The total value is $7.10. Which system can be used to determine the number of nickels and the number of quarters that Joanna has in her purse? One thing that's kind of nice about this is it looks like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard. It's just asking you to set up the question and then move on with your life. And the setup is really not that bad. So, she's got a total of 50 coins in her purse. And nickels, the number of nickels is N, and the number of quarters is Q, right? So, the number of nickels plus the number of quarters has to equal 50. The number of nickels she has and the number of quarters she has to total to 50 coins. And already I see that the answer is A. That second line says 5 cents for every nickel and 25 cents for every quarter has to add to $7.10. The other three have some sort of combination of these numbers, but they're all in the wrong place. Any questions, y'all? Okay, we're not too far from being done. Just like yesterday on your stats practice, there's a lot of interpretation that you got to talk about. So, the function f of x equals negative 0.25x plus 5 models the height of the candle x seconds after it is lit. What is the meaning of the y-intercept of the function? Okay, first off, what is the y-intercept? 5. So the y-intercept is 5. Remember, your y-intercept always talks about your starting value. It's the starting value of whatever this function is modeling or measuring. Well, here, because it's modeling the height, this is the starting height. So the answer is A. It's the initial height of the candle. It looks like the candle was 5 inches tall, and it goes down 1/4 of an inch every second. I don't know if that sounds right. Maybe it's like a birthday candle. It's like, I don't think candles are supposed to burn down that quickly. Any questions on number 8? Now look at those other options. The final height of the candle, the rate at which the candle is burning, the amount of time it took the candle to completely burn. If it asked for the meaning of the slope, the answer would have been C. Again, if it asked for the meaning of the slope, the answer would have been C. The slope always describes your rate of change. Number 9, another interpreting a function question, except we got to do a little bit of math with it. An elevator is descending from the top floor of the building. The floor the elevator is currently on is given by the function f of s equals 32 minus 2s, where s is the time in seconds since it began its descent. What is the floor? What floor is the elevator on after 5 seconds? Okay, s is the time in seconds. 5 seconds gives me s equals 5. So I'm thinking all I really need to do here is take f of s equals 36 minus 2s and plug in 5. Which, by the way, I hate the letter and number combination of s equals 5 because s kind of looks like a 5 if you write it sloppy. Either way, not too bad. 36 minus 2 times 5, well, 2 times 5 is 10. 36 minus 10 is 26. That elevator is on the 26th floor. Oh, yeah. So what this does mean is that the elevator started on the 36th floor and goes down 2 floors every second, which also sounds kind of fast. We're dropping 2 whole floors in 1 second. Kind of scary. Number 10 looks a little intimidating. Water is leaking from a 100-gallon tank at a constant rate. The water remaining in the tank is decreasing linearly. The leak started at 4:15. By 5 o'clock, there were 85 gallons left. How many gallons will be at 6 o'clock? Okay, couple of things. Constant rate and linearly means we're subtracting the same amount. So whatever leaks out in the first minute, it's going to be what leaks out in the next minute, and the next minute, and the next minute, and so on. And I think the best thing I can do here is to make a table that kind of keeps track of the times in gallons. So I'm going to put time in gallons. Since the leak started at 4:15 p.m. and it was leaking from a 100-gallon tank, I'm going to say 4:15, 100 gallons. And then by 5 o'clock, it had 85 gallons remaining. In my head, the easiest way to count up in even-sized increments is to go by 15 minutes. Okay? If you go per minute, you're going to have a long table to make, but 15 minutes is going to be a little bit quicker. So we don't know what was happening at 4:30 or 4:45, but we know by 5 o'clock there were only 85 gallons left. And this is how we're going to figure out how many gallons are leaking over time. Because I had 100, missing value, 85. How much does it look like it's going down every 15 minutes to go down from 100 to 85? 5. 100 minus 5 minus 5 minus 5 takes you to 85. Now, if that's not intuitive to you and you're like, wait a minute, how'd you get minus 5? You can set up a little side baby equation and solve it. You can say 100 minus 3x equals 85. Why I said 3x is because there's 1, 2, 3 jumps in time. You solve that equation, you get negative 5. You subtract 100 from both sides. Again, this is just side math that if you saw the 5 automatically, you don't even need to do it. So it loses 5 gallons every 15 minutes. Let's keep on counting up. 5:15, there would be only 80 gallons left. 5:30, there would be 75 gallons left. 5:45, there would be 70 gallons left. And 6 o'clock, the answer would be there are 65 gallons left. Any questions on that, y'all?